Good morning. My name is Michael Latshaw, and I'm the marketing manager here at CTI. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar on the Bulletproof Network, How to Win with SD-WAN, which is a co-presentation between Consolidated Technologies, Inc. and Windstream. So now, without further ado, I turn the presentation over to CTI's Chief Customer Officer, Ben Skulski. Ben?
Thank you, Michael. And thank you, everybody, for joining our webinar today, the Bulletproof Network, How to Win with SD-WAN, presented by CTI and our esteemed partner, Windstream. To get started, I will let you know that I'm Ben Skulski, Chief Customer Officer of CTI. Joining me today from the Windstream team will be Steve DeSantis. He is a Senior Solutions Engineer, and Steve will be conducting the majority of the presentation today. Let me start off by telling you a little bit about CTI and who we are. CTI has been in the marketplace for 25 years. Our goal has been to bring the best of breed services and solutions to our customers. We want to make sure that we are ahead of the technology curve, trying and testing new technologies. So we are on the leading edge, not the bleeding edge. And our goal is to bring these solutions to our customers so that they have the comfort of knowing that they are at the leading edge of technology so that they can best serve their business needs. We are a pioneer in the UCaaS cloud business. We built and operated our own network. We were a provider of UCaaS VoIP endpoints from 2006 to 2011 when we exited the business. The reason why we exited that business was we wanted to get back to our roots of being a trusted advisor to our customers, a true partner at the endpoint. And there is a distinct difference between being a provider and a trusted advisor. At this point, I am going to turn it over to Steve to do an introduction of himself and Windstream. Steve, thank you, and I appreciate you very much.
Hi, I'm Steve DeSantis. I'm a senior sales engineer from Windstream. I'm hoping you can see my screen right now. I'm sharing. So Windstream, who are we? We have 150,000 route miles. We have 540,000 UCaaS customers or UCaaS seats. We have 11,000 employees. Our average revenue is $5 billion. We're at a little over 31,000 SD-WAN seats today or sites today. Our number one goal is to connect, transform, and elevate our customers' experience. We're an ILEC in some markets. We're a CLEC in most markets throughout the country. Our SD-WAN is available in North America, and we have been pushing it out to some international sites, working with our carriers. All right, so let's jump into this about SD-WAN today.
Hey, Steve, before you jump in, I think we would like to do a quick poll for the audience. And thank you, Steve, for that introduction of Windstream, a big reason why we partner with you in these types of solutions for many years. And thank you, everyone, for answering the question, just to give us an idea of your familiarity. Great. As we expect, there's always a mix in the crowd. And for all those who don't and aren't familiar, we will certainly be able to show you the value and the importance of SD-WAN. So thanks for the response. And now, Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you to do your magic.
Sure. Okay. So SD-WAN, software-defined networking. It's been around for a while in the colos as SDN. Now it's been pushed out to the WAN locations. And what it enables, I'm going to show a few slides here, and then we'll jump into our portal and bounce around inside our device. So what's happened over the last few years, I've been in this industry over 30 years, and what's happened is that customers have moved from the back office where you had your servers and you just had one internet coming in there. Anything was necessary. I wanted my Microsoft for a desktop. I grabbed it off a server. Nowadays, our customers are using 365, so they go into the cloud. more customers are pushing SaaS application out to the cloud. Therefore, they need better and more efficient bandwidth, and at the same time, it has to be cost-effective bandwidth. In the past, what we did was if you put 200 meg circuits in, we made sure they were Ethernet over fiber. We dropped them in from 2 diverse carriers and 2 diverse switches to give you diversity. Use BGP with HSRP. Utilize one of those 100 meg circuits, and the other one was used as the backup. Nowadays, we can put in that same 100 meg circuit, remove one of those 100 meg circuits, and install a broadband circuit or a Wi-Fi circuit or whatever else is available at that location. The cost of bringing fiber into a building sometimes has a build out cost. So whatever's available, we can use with SD-WAN. That's a great thing about SD-WAN. So I can use my customer with 100 megs. I now have a 100 meg circuit, and I might put in a 200 over 20 meg broadband circuit, but they're inactive active. So they're getting actually more bandwidth at the same time. They also have the failover available to them in real time. I'm building this for critical applications on the network. More of these critical applications have moved out to the cloud. More people going to AWS, Azure, Salesforce, and other locations in the cloud. We can guarantee 100% uptime on certain types of SD-WAN deployments. If we're using an Ethernet over fiber circuit from one CO and maybe putting in a fixed wireless circuit and then putting SD-WAN on it in an active mode, we can give you a 100% SLA uptime on it. Otherwise, it's 5 nines across the board. You have full security across the network utilizing SD-WAN. Everything's encrypted. It's IPsec tunnels, and it's fully secured from the BCE to BCE when going across from site to site, or BCE to BCG. And I'll jump into a little bit more of this in a couple of minutes.
Hey, Steve?
Sure.
Would you just, when you throw out the acronym, would you also state what the words represent? Because some folks like myself might not understand or be familiar with them.
Sure.
And for anybody who has questions, I know Mike mentioned it in the beginning, please type them into the chat. We will address all the questions at the end. If Michael sees a question that comes in that's relevant that we should answer right away, he will interrupt and throw that out there for Steve. So thank you, folks, and thank you, Steve.
Okay, so the next slide here just shows us a little bit about where SD-WAN is going today. If you notice 2020 in the middle here, we're still on the upswing with SD-WAN. Probably 40% of our customers have moved towards SD-WAN, so there's still a large market for it. They're saying not until 2024 that SD-WAN is going to hit its full apex here, and this comes from Gartner. I'm seeing more and more customers that are interested in it. It doesn't always take the place of MPLS, but it sometimes does. I'll show you a few videos coming up. So here's basic customer of ours that I turned up probably about a year ago. So they were 2 sites in New York and Texas on MPLS network. They had Dynamic IP, which is our SIP voice product, hanging off of one MPLS circuit at each of these sites. We gave them VPN backup by providing a broadband circuit at the site. When they failed over, the voice quality wasn't so great, but at least they had a little bit of failover. They were setting up VPNs out to the cloud. SD-WAN gave us the ability to give them 100 meg internet, a broadband circuit, and also a 4G backup circuit at the location. So now they have active network. The 4G is set up in a backup state so that it's not in an active state, but if both of these went down at the same time, it would pick up the call. You wouldn't even see the call drop at all, which is a really nice thing if you've worked with BGP or something in the past. Calls stayed up, but when the circuit came back up, the bad circuit came back up, you had a heartbeat on the BGP, and most times you lost that call. So nowadays you don't lose the call either way. So with this customer, he had other sites in Texas that were in small locations that a build out of Ethernet over fiber out to these locations was $50,000, $60,000, wasn't worth it to them to do it. So we were able to give them broadband circuit out there and 4G backup at the same time as dropping in a VCE device on site, now giving them active-active failover, site-to-site diversity. Plus they also, their voice traffic, they're hanging off of the PBX here and the PBX here, so they now have their voice out there. This site right here is using a managed network security from Windstream. So they're using a cloud internet for these 3 remote sites. The other 2 main sites, which are data centers, are utilizing their own internet from Windstream, and they have their own firewalls. 3 parts of the SD-WAN are edge device, a gateway device, and a management tool. Or so this will do all the management on the network. Everything this site needs to, the VCE here just needs to talk to this site, to the management tool over the internet, otherwise known as an orchestrator by some of the different SD-WAN providers out there. The gateway device and the VCE device are always talking to each other. With the Bello Cloud, we do 2 flavors. One is Fortinet, one is Bello Cloud. In this case, this is a VCE from Bello utilizing Bello Cloud. It's done at 100 milliseconds, so it's sub-second rates. So when I pick up a phone here to make a call out, I'm sending my traffic down both these circuits at the same time. I'm going to do 2 VCG pairs. So from Smithtown, New York, I'm going to New York City gateway, and I'm going to an Atlanta gateway. This way I have diversity of gateways. If both circuits are taking that traffic at the same time, whichever one, the VCE and the VCG, are deciding which one of these circuits is the cleanest, fastest, has the lowest latency on it, it's going to pass the call over it.
Hey, Steve?
Sir, sure.
I'm sorry, this is Michael. We do have a question that is related to this that maybe you could answer right now. Would the customer get a gateway connection directly to your networks? Basically, customers' internet connectivity will be through your WAN, correct? And then there's an addition to this. In other words, internet connection will be filtered through your WAN/firewalls, etc.
Yeah, so the way Windstream is set up is our gateways are built on our core network. We don't build our gateways in an AWS data center. We don't put them out on the internet. These are on our core network. So if I have an internet circuit from Windstream here, it goes right back to my core network. I have my latency on this is probably 4 milliseconds or less. So there's benefits of having the gateways built right onto the network because there's low latency across it. There's more security since it's a private network that they're now sitting on. So if I'm going from Smithtown to Bedford, I'm staying on my core network between site-to-site traffic. It's a much better way to do this. I have lower latency on it. If I'm sending business critical or voice across it, it's in real time. It's it's a much faster, easier way to handle traffic and much more secure. So that's a good question about the gateways, though. But so we have gateway pairs out there, but our pairs are built onto our own core network. That's what Windstream has done a little differently than some of the other people out there. The other thing I was going to say about this is that it makes it easier if we had an MPLS network, and as I want to bring up these small sites that really can't handle, if I had some remote sites, and what's happening with coronavirus right now is a lot of our customers are now realizing that, they're working from home, but then I have some high engineering people that work from home. So we've been dropping VCEs into their home where they have broadband today, And then they'll drop in a 4G wireless with a cradle point device, put the SD-WAN device on it, and now they have active failover across their own network. Much better, if you're doing some engineering or you're doing high bandwidth, or even it's bandwidth that's critical that you can't be down sitting on a broadband circuit, that has high latency in the middle of the afternoon when everybody else is working off of it. This gives them the ability to stay up and in business. We've been passing that on with a lot of our customers lately. It's been a new way to use it. Another way is we can do this in HA pairs. This is a larger customer with some data centers. In this location, they have gateway pairs and they have 3 broadband circuits coming in, or 3 WAN circuits. One of them is a 200 meg dynamic circuit, which is internet and our voice on it. One is a 200 meg internet circuit, one is a broadband circuit. We just bring them into our switches, and then between the switches, we send everything across to 2 VCEs that are acting in active passive. So if one of these goes down, it continues, the other one continues to work. You don't lose anything on that. We also can do this in a cold spare place where if HA is overkill for your location, then what we do is we leave one of these VCEs on site, and all you do is just plug it in and we can turn it right up if the other one ever went down. So there's a few different ways of doing this. With one of the main questions that you're going to run into with SD-WAN is, where is the internet coming from? I can do internet off of our cloud internet using Windstream MNS Cloud. I can also utilize a customer's firewall from behind this. It works best in a transparent mode, just because the device here can see all the LAN IP traffic and IP addresses in a transparent mode. That way you have the source and the destinations. When you get into looking at the portal itself, you're able to manage your network better. You'll see who's utilizing the bandwidth. You'll also be able to prioritize how they use that bandwidth across the network. Let me jump to, and this is, I threw this one in just because I've been starting to see this more often. This is more like my office at home that I've been working in for the last 6 months now. So basically, I have a broadband circuit. I have a 4G circuit, but somebody I just turned up recently, they had we gave him a 20 meg circuit. He's doing, it's business critical. He has to be up all the time. So we give him 2 circuits, a VCE, and now he has his firewall sitting behind his, and then the LAN behind his firewall. So all untrusted data hits his firewall, and then his voice traffic hits the hits a cube device that we put on site, a router. And then he has a phone system sitting behind that. It's a small location for 2 or 3 people. It could be a larger location, but we're seeing even individual sites where people are working from home that need to have the always up time on it. We're just dropping in their broadband and a 4G wireless, or if they can get a FiOS and a broadband at some of these locations, we're just dropping that in to keep them up so that they can get back to their networks. And in this case, like I said, one of the good things is I can get to our VoIP gateway, which is sitting on our core network. Everything sits on our core network. So my voice traffic will go out through the 20 meg with QoS on it. If this 20 meg goes down, the traffic will then travel out through the broadband circuit, go right back to the same, to the same network, get back on our network. There's no loss of voice quality in that way. Also the same thing for the internet. So if they had a /29 of internet or even a /30 of internet, if they lose it from one side, those public IPs that they have are still coming in on the other side, just because we've pushed the gateway, the internet out to the gateway pairs here. So what happens is you don't need to have a /24 to do to advertise to the internet. So basically now I have failover on my circuits. So it's a little better than what load balancing can do. Here's a little bit. So at Windstream, like I said, we have 31,000 existing customers today. It's closer to 32 now. I think we do 800 a month, 800 sites a month is the average right now that we've been knocking off. We won the MEF Awards for SD-WAN Provider of the Year for North America last year. These are some larger customers of ours. SD-WAN, we have software, we have numerous departments now doing software for us at Windstream. One of the things is our WeConnect portal. We've realized that customers need the ease of use of different portals to pay their bills and also at the same time to order new features and to manage their features. We just won the Stevie Award for our WeConnect portal. I'm going to go into that in a couple of minutes. I'll show you exactly what it looks like. And it can be on your laptop, your phone, your iPad. I know the technical people that I deal with. I just turned up a large company, and the IT director was, his favorite thing about it was that on his phone, he was able to go out and pick something up for lunch and not have to worry because he was able to look at it before he walked out the door. And while he was out, he could see, the life of his network and see how well it was doing. It made life very easy for him.
Hey, Steve, I have another question if I could input it right now. I have a Barracuda Web Filter appliance on my network. Will I need that if I am on an SD-WAN network? If so, do I have a management portal to monitor and configure the filtering?
No, you shouldn't need it, but we'd have to do a deeper dive into your network before I say positively not necessary. Okay, that's
great. Thank you.
We have to speak about that. See exactly how you have it embedded in your network and what it's really being utilized for and what the SD-WAN will do for you. Okay. Cloud core architecture. So what I was saying is our SD-WAN is built into our network, and this is our North American network right now. So you can see everything's built on our winter state, which is the Windstream core. Each one of these sites has our gateways located in them. We do, so we do a New York and an Atlanta. We do a Chicago and a Dallas. We do a San Jose and a Denver for sites. If you have locations on both sides of the country, we can build dual pairs of gateways so that those local sites have a lower latency from site to site and utilize more regional gateways for themselves. One of the things that sets Windstream apart from a lot of the providers out there now, some people just providing SD-WAN and walking away. Windstream has been in this industry for 20 some odd years. We're winning awards for our digital our digital experience, especially with like the Stevie Awards. There's a list, I don't show the page, but there's a list of a whole bunch of different things we can do and win awards in the last year. We have professional services, so we have hands that can do the installation if the IT departments don't have enough people to do these installations. They can do wiring. They can also, sit down and do studies on people's an enhancement of your network. They can do a study on your network. There's a lot of different things that our professional services is used for. Collaboration solutions, we have we have a few different types of unified voice solutions. Managed network security, we have a fully managed, we can install firewalls. We have firewalls in the cloud. We work with carriers or with our customers that do have firewalls, and we can help them with that. Software-defined networking. Our whole network is basically SD-WAN and our cloud today, so it works better with our SD-WAN in passing that information across the network. And like I said earlier, we have 150,000 route miles, plus we work with a lot of tier 2 providers, so we can get anywhere in the North America right And we're powered by Bello Cloud, by VMware. And one of the things we do is, as a sales engineer, is we sit down with you and go over your network and decide which one of these works better. Fortinet is also a good player in the SD-WAN league right now. These are Bello Cloud is probably the top, is by Gartner's voted the top, and Fortinet I think is the third place right now on the net on SD-WAN. This is our WeConnect portal. This is what we won the Stevie Award for. There's little widgets here that you can add. People are used to widgets these days. Everything, it looks like your applications on your phone. So we can run any of the products from Windstream these days, basically our voice products and our security products can run from here, and also our SD-WAN. So I have the SD-WAN selected for these guys. Give me basic weather alerts. There's some how-to videos that people can watch in here. One of the things is, all right, that's my location. So this is the sales engineers group. So we act like this is a large company with many sites on it. So looking at this is a QoE, quality of experience. Tell me my voice is at a 9.9. This is based on a 0 being bad to a 10 being good. And this is the past 24 hours. I could look at it for up to 7 days from this, but once you're on the site, you can actually look at it up to a year, and I can also pick out things. And this is a quick view of your network. If I wanted to pay bills, I could go up here and pay bills. If I wanted to go to look at my firewalls, I can go up here and look at my firewalls. There's a lot of different things I can do with this, but right now we're just worried about the SD-WAN side. So I can look at my top applications. Since SD-WAN is driven by application-aware services, I can look at my top destinations. I can look at my top applications on my network. I can look at my edge status. I can look at my top sources. I get a heartbeat of my network right here, telling me if there's any issues on my network. We have the map in here. So on this map, I can show all my sites. Basically, I can go down and pin down any of the sites that I'm working on, and if I see a comes up red, it means it's down, or if it's yellow, it's degraded. So I can go in and manage it from there. So that takes a while. Let's start playing with that. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to go right into my device, or actually into the landing page for my groups. So it has dual authentication on it. So I just authenticated it from my phone. It hit my phone and authenticated. And the dual authentication is there for PCI compliance. We do a lot with retail, so they need PCI compliance for credit cards. And we have all the paperwork for that. It's also HIPAA compliant for our medical offices that we deal with. So from here, this is the landing page. There's an administrator's guide right up here in the top right. It's like 60 some odd pages if you had any questions on anything. There's also the different management of this is most customers do concierge management, which gets them the ability to make changes on the network, to come in here and make different changes on it. The big part is they get a TSM, they get a technical service manager. It's a group of guys that just manage SD-WAN devices in the group. That's all they do. They're real good at it. They help customers design their networks. They work with them. Once the networks are in, they'll have meetings. My larger customers have weekly meetings with their TSM. Most of my medium-sized customers have a monthly with their TSM. The TSMs will see issues on the network. We'll see where, my customers will get, in the beginning, some of my customers get phone calls from their TSM in the middle of the afternoon saying, hey, I see your, there's an app on your network that we've never seen before. Is this okay to be on your network? We know you have bring your own devices, you know. So it's, some of my customers in the beginning aren't used to it, but after a while, they know that people are looking at their network and trying to make it work better than it usually does. So if I looked at all the connected sites here, what it looks like is, so if we had multiple sites on our network, I'd come in here, I'd see one of my sites. You can name this anything you want. There's also a tag here. This one says North, but you can easily change that to give it another name if you wanted to. Status on their network is green. He has 2 links. One of the links is a TMLP, which is his provider, his ISP provider, and I think this is Boston area. And then the other one is Verizon Wireless, and he has it in standby. Like I said about standby, standby will utilize probably about 1 gig to 1.5 gigs of data a month. So it won't cost the customer too much. Usually you get at least a gig or 5 gigs in a data plan, that so you don't have to get hit with anything. But if the other circuit goes down, or if it starts to degrade, it will automatically kick over to the standby. The standby is ready to go. So if I'm on a voice call and I kicked into standby, I wouldn't drop the call would just continue on, which is a good thing. Let me go into my device. So this is my device. I have a 520 VCE 520 device. It has the availability of 4 WAN ports on it. That's our SD-WAN goes up to 4 WAN ports on any of our devices. So I have 2 electrical ports that come with it, RJ48s, and then I also have an SFP. I just went in here. All right, so I have 2 SFPs here, which I can either do optical or I can do RJ48s in there. We have WAN side, gives me 8 WAN ports on it. So I can build these WAN ports as, I think I have these as VLANs on mine. So I'm using VLAN 1 through 4 on my network. I could also build them by IP addresses. I can also, I can do 802.q, and there's different ways I can design this, and that's something we talked to you about. From here, I can see that I have 2 circuits. I have a Comcast circuit. As soon as you plug it in, it gets the IP address. This is a dynamic circuit from Comcast, but here's the IP. If you look at this in 2 weeks, it's probably going to be a different IP address at that time. So I can use static IPs or dynamic on the network. As soon as we plug it in, we get that from them. Here's the throughput. And this, like I said, we do 100 milliseconds, so it's almost real time. So it's telling me this is the throughput I'm actually using. It's just me, so there's not much data going on my network. Here's the bandwidth that I have available to me, 191/6 and a 51/16. Here's latency on the network right now. You can see the reason I prefer my voice and my data to go out through the Comcast, just because your wireless circuits always have higher latency on them and usually have higher jitter on them, so it can create issues. But if a circuit is down, it does work, and it does work pretty well if the Comcast went down. There's a couple of times I've had to work in that state for a while. This is my top 5 applications. So it's always pulling data off your network. If I go in and look at let's go to transport first. So from here, I can go to transport. And this is going to show my 2 circuits and how much bandwidth I'm utilizing on my circuits at any given time. And as you can see, before this meeting started, I was running some policies on the network, so I was using some bandwidth. Now, since the meeting started, I haven't been doing anything else besides the meeting time. So this is basically just the upstream and downstream bandwidth. If I looked at I can go in and do show live monitoring on my network. You can see that my Comcast and my Verizon Wireless, Comcast has 6 up and Verizon Wireless had like 16 up. So it prefers Verizon Wireless for my upstream data or my sent data over the Comcast. If I unplugged, you can see both these circuits are green at the same time. I got my Verizon Wireless and my Comcast up. If I unplug my Comcast from my device right now, so I've taken my Comcast down, automatically it goes red on me. The bandwidth stops being utilized. You see it's down. My Verizon Wireless picks up all the data. So everything starts going across that. My voice stays up, my video stays up, everything stays up online. And it will buffer until I bring back up the Comcast side again, which I just plugged it back in, and then all the traffic will be sent back over to the Comcast side.
Right there, Steve, is the value, correct?
That's some of the value.
I mean, right, some of the value, but in terms of being bulletproof, right, that just really, it just takes the circuits and it prevents the downtime. And from a layperson perspective, it does what it does.
Yeah, it was the thing 3 years ago when I started looking at SD-WAN. It was the thing that I was the most intrigued by, and I thought to myself, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, because I've been working in this industry, ATM, MPLS, VoIP, everything. You know, I've worked with leading edge technologies before, and SD-WAN was just a simple way to have active that worked, constantly worked, and it's not, you know, let's say it's a simple technology. It just has to be built correctly on your network. But I also find the application aware services and the prioritization of the applications is what really helps on a network. I find that to be even more important some days. The way I can send different types of traffic out and control it from my network. You know, just utilizing this device and my network, I can send traffic through the gateway, site to site. I can send traffic if I wanted to lay traffic off to my underlays. So I have the circuit itself. The WAN circuit is the underlay, and the overlay is where we send all the data. I can then also send traffic to the underlay. So if I have a customer, let's go take a look at business policies in here. So everybody gets built with some business policies. And I'll show you how quick and easy a policy can be written. So we handle everything we do, we sort of handle it a different way. So my voice, I want that up at all times. I need it in real time. You know, if you've worked with voice traffic for a long time, you have QoS on your voice side to make sure that it's prioritized. So I can prioritize this. This is the way my voice traffic runs, this little policy here. So I'm defining it based on my demo phone, which sits on VLAN number 2. I could have just said source anything and then looked for any type of traffic or application that showed up. So real-time audio and video would show up in the application side. But I want to control it even further down. So I want to say where it comes in on the LAN side of my device. So I push all my voice traffic through. I could even put, if you're doing voice, it's 46 EF on QoS. I could build that in there. If your phone system is still sending that, then just go based on the DSCPs. But I'm doing it based on an application now. And then I'm giving it high priority. I'm sending it multi-path, so I'm sending it to both my circuits. Pinning it, I'm doing some link steering that I'm pinning it to my interface, GigE1, which is my Comcast, because I prefer it to go out Comcast, and I've put prefer in there. But if it goes down, it's going to go, since I'm only preferring it, I'm not making it mandatory, it's going to send it to my gig E2, which is my Wi-Fi circuit. But when this gig E1 comes back up and is clean again, it's going to prefer it to go there and pass it back. It's that simple to do a policy on a network these days. That's one of the really cool things about it. Now, if this was Pandora and somebody was, I had a large restaurant company that, they have 35 sites in the mid-Atlantic. And one of the things they found was they were losing bandwidth, and they wanted their customers at the bar to be able to get in and place their bets for football and check their teams and such. While they're sitting at the bar, they didn't want them going home, so they wanted their bandwidth to work well. But at the same time, you have guys in the kitchen who were listening to Pandora, say. So they were able to go in. Once we saw that what was utilizing their bandwidth, we were able to go in and say, hey, let's rate limit it. So we went in and pulled Pandora application out here, picked Pandora, and then rate limited it. Gave them, I don't want the guys in the kitchen going home. I want them happy, but at the same time, I'm going to give them 10% of the bandwidth. So I rate limit them for 10% of the bandwidth, so the other 90% is available to their customers. So simple things like this.
That's some powerful stuff, Steve.
Yeah, and it's simple, it's easy. You don't need a CCIE any longer to do this. Our TSMs teach our customers how to make certain changes, or if you're not, if you're not comfortable with it, the TSM will do his own things. They'll.
So I'm going to jump in, Steve. I'm sorry to cut you off. We're going to run tight on time. We may have some questions. I think we have 5 more minutes, and we might even run over. Do you have anything else that's critical that you'd like to show the group before we jump into the Q&A?
Yeah, let me show you this. This is kind of neat. This is for some of our really large companies were asking us for data for their whole network. They wanted to know what was going on. So we built this Insights tab in here. So basically with the Insights tab, I want to see if I want to see my top 5 sites, their average throughput, I can see my top 5 users. If I want to see my bottom users, and we can build anything into this. What we're doing is taking all the data from our data lake that we're gathering from each customer, and then we're starting to put it out there as information that they can utilize. So if they wanted to see the top 5 sites of bandwidth utilization, they can just go in quickly. I want to see my bottom 5 sites. A really cool thing, I want to see my latency issues. I want to know where I'm going to start opening trouble tickets. I might have some voice quality issues going on. And hell, I might not know I have voice quality issues starting because it's jitter and latency are going to cause that voice quality issue. I have some packet loss showing up at 4% at this location. That's anything over 1% packet loss is not a good deal. So I want to fix these things. So I can be ahead of things, and that's what really makes it easy for an IT group. Working with a nonprofit in New York City, they have many shelters, and they started having bandwidth issues. So we put this on here, find new applications. And when I was on with him a couple of weeks ago, one of the things we did, went right in, looked at, and he found, let's say, in this one right here, the new application that showed up was an Xbox Live. But he started finding applications that, they didn't approve, and they were using up their bandwidth. So he was able to go in quickly and actually go to the firewall product in here and just black hole them so that those applications weren't available, especially since, it's a nonprofit. They only have so much money and so much bandwidth to run with. So things like this made it real easy for him to manage his network. So that's all I want to share.
That's great, Steve. We really appreciate it. It's really important, critical things, how simple it is to make your network bulletproof, also to save some money. So the next steps, how would you get started if you had interest in SD-WAN and the potential value for your business? So there are a couple of ways you can get started. You can reach out to your account manager, your account representative, if you know who they are at CTI, and you can reach out to them directly. If you've worked with our carrier division, our director of carrier services is Mike Skulski, and his team is there to support you and help you with your analysis and recommendations related to carrier, network, and SD-WAN. So if you have a relationship with Mike or anyone on his team, please reach out to them. Or if you're unsure who to contact, please email us at mlatchaw@consoltech.com, and we'll leave that up there for a moment. And if you email Michael, he will make sure that the appropriate person at CTI and Windstream are in touch so that we can answer any questions you might have. And speaking of questions, Michael, I'm going to turn it to you for the Q&A component. And Steve, likely you will be answering most of them.
Okay, our first question is your support available here in the USA or is it outsourced somewhere else?
No, it's 100% USA for the SD-WAN.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, what is AWS and Azure?
AWS is Amazon Cloud and Azure is Microsoft Cloud. So what I was talking about was just different cloud databases that you go to. A lot of customers have moved their servers into the cloud networks out there. We have direct,
and Michael? Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Steve.
we have direct connects to those locations right off of our network. So with SD-WAN, they can go directly to those networks, or they can utilize the internet to get to those networks based on whatever they have there.
I was going to add, Michael, we have expertise in-house. Our solutions architects and engineers have worked closely with customers interested in Amazon Web Services and Azure, as we have migrated many customers to those solutions. So if there are questions related to that, please reach out to us and we can help you through them.
Okay, why is SD-WAN better than MPLS?
There's a few different things to look at with SD-WAN. So let's look at the cost of it. With MPLS, I need to have broadband circuits from the same carrier, right? So if I set up a broadband net, if I set up a network, my WAN network has to have Ethernet over fiber from Windstream at every one of those locations. With SD-WAN now, I can utilize broadband, DSL, T1s even, whatever's available, and it doesn't have to come from Windstream. So if you have a nice contract for 500 megs from an ISP out there that you lucked into a couple of years ago, you can utilize him as you can utilize that as one of the legs. Windstream, with SD-WAN, we don't care about the network. We're allowing you to buy from whoever you want to. So it makes it a lot more costly at this time. There's still places where MPLS is very important for you, so certain networks, and that's one of the things I do is I'll sit down with customers and every once in a while I'll tell them, you know what, MPLS is still the better play for you.
From our perspective, we have not seen many situations where MPLS is such a requirement, and it certainly may or may not, and that's based on the analysis, but the value certainly in SD-WAN is the robust reliability and resilience from my perspective as a business person, as well as the cost savings, because if I can get more value and better service for less dollars, that gives me as a business person more flexibility in how we invest our available dollars. Michael, are there any other questions from the group today?
Yeah, we have one more. How resilient is your solution? Is it architected for high availability?
Yes, I showed one video in there showing the high availability network. So we can put 2 VCEs at any site. We build the switches in front of it, so you have diversity of switch, diversity of VCE device that's in a active state, and then you can even do diversity of firewall sitting behind it. And diversity of switches behind it. So yeah, we can build it as resilient as necessary.
Great, and that's it for the questions for today.
Well, thank you folks very much. We hope you enjoyed the content. We thank you very much for joining our webinar today, the Bulletproof Network presented by CTI and Windstream, and we look forward to seeing you during our next webinar. Thanks, be safe, and make it a great day.